Okay? Hamotzi kupas rochli. Somebody who takes out a basket which contains the wares of a peddler. Even though it's got many types in it, you only have one chatas. Why only one chatas? Because all considered to be one unit, not independent units. And we're going to talk about that in the Gemara in greater detail. Zironigino. If you take out seeds for planting. Paulus be krogeris, and even if they're less than a krogeris. A krogeris is the size of a date, is the size, a fig is the size of foodstuffs. Here you're not taking out them as foodstuffs, you're taking out as seeds for planting. So the shiur is much smaller. If it's seed, regular seeds, its shiur is 5. Zer kishun, if it's pumpkin seeds, shnaim 2. The zeret luin, another type of pumpkin or gourd, shnaim, the shiur is 2. Zer pula mitzri, if it's a seed for Egyptian legumes, shnaim, then the shiur is 2 as well. Chag of chai, if you're taking out a live locust or a live grasshopper, koshu, then the shiur is a koshu because you can play with it. It's a toy. In the old days, they didn't have Legos. They used grasshoppers. They used what they could get their hands on, okay? Mace, if it's dead, so it's no longer considered to be a toy, it's not as exciting anymore. Ki grogeris, then the shiur reverts to being a grogeris. Tzipayres keramim, if you have a live bird which flits around in the vineyards, actually, if you have a bird which flits around the vineyards, ben chaya, ben mesa, whether it's alive and whether it's dead, kosher, the shiur is a kosher, b'nei matzni, also l'rfuah, because you preserve it, you put it into safekeeping in order to use as a medicine. We will see what the medicine was as an early forerunner of a modern drug. So to somebody who takes out a live grasshopper, even if it's tamei, even if it's not a Torah one, kosher, the shiur is a kosher, b'nei matzino, so because people keep it around, l'katan l'sachik bo, for a child to play with, even though it's treif, as a toy, it's still okay. V'kashi, I have a difficulty like this. Ilu haitzi v'haitzi be'elim echad. Isn't it obvious that in the ratio you only have one korban for being motzi many different wares in the same bundle? If you took out even two things in succession in one period of forgetfulness, anything more than one, so to here it's only chayiv one prohibition. Lemin nitzrucha, so says more. No, the chiddush is quite Rabbi. To whom is the chiddush? Rabbi Eliezer. According to Rabbi Eliezer. Why is the chiddush according to Rabbi Eliezer? Because Rabbi Eliezer holds, although the Gemara doesn't bring it down, that tamchuin mechalkin. We know this already from the Bavli. We know that he holds that if you eat a kazayis of chalev in a cheeseburger and a kazayis of chalev in a steak sandwich, that you get 2 malchus, even though it's even though it's the same chalev, right? Same prohibition of chalev, but since it's in 2 different dishes, you get 2 prohibitions. So I might say here too, since it's in various different wares in the peddler's bundle, it's considered to be multiple prohibitions. That's why I have to say kamash malan that it's not. It's all considered to be one large prohibition. Okay, in according to Rebbe Lezer, shelo tomar. Don't say harbe minim, that the variance there, that the multiple amount of stuff. Yeasu belemos harbe. It should be like. It should be kehalemos. Should be like multiple periods of forgetfulness. If you're chayiv al kolachas v'achas, you should be chayiv in each one. From Cain, so that's why I have to say in a chayiv elachas, you only get one prohibition. Okay. Zera zerone gina. Palchas mikogeres. The seeds of the field, even less than kogeres. Rabbi Meser ben Rabbi Yochanan ben Rabbi Yehuda ben Meser. Omer Chamisha 5. Matam the Rabbi Yehuda ben Meser. Why? What's the logic of Rabbi Yehuda ben Meser that you get 5? Shekain darken lizar baruga, because we learned. You weren't here for that, were you? But 2 days ago we were here, right? When was the last time we were here?
I was here 2 days ago.
2 days ago. Okay, so we learned in Aruga. Remember in the vegetable patch. I don't know.
Our priorities never.
Okay, I'm not even going to ask. I don't want to know. Don't want to know. I want to be Daniel Lakovskos. In the vegetable patch, you get to plant 5 different types of seeds. Remember, we said 4 on the 4 corners and 1 in the middle. So that vegetable patch, the vegetable patch is the benchmark for how many seeds you're chayav on for taking out Shabbos, and that's how you got five seeds as being the minimum shiur of seeds you take on Shabbos. Okay, that was 2 days. Okay, Sarah Kishuin base. The shiur of pumpkins is 2. Zered Luin base. The shiur of gourds is 2. Zered Pul Mitzrish base. The shiur of Egyptian legumes is base 2. Tani, we learned Chiti Madayor Shtaim. Also the shiur of median wheat is 2. Now, why is that? That's not a seed. That's a grain, and nobody plants 2 grains, right? it's a joke, right? A vegetable plant, one plants a single seed and you get a whole plant, right? But a grain, who plants a single grain? Nobody plants a single grain or 2 grains. It's it's far too little to be economically feasible, right? Says more nonetheless, this is an emotional kind of thing. Rabbi Shmuel Shem Razir said, Chita Ma'ideshin Chavivos, because people who like them also some because they gave the same status as other seeds which are not eaten, which means that they're ready on 2-year chayiv. Okay? Chagav Chai, a live grasshopper, koshu, the shears, no matter how small, mace, if it's dead, kilgeres, the shears will go geres. Hodat Omar Batar. That's only by a Torah one that the shears are grogeres because human beings eat it. If it's a treif grasshopper, then by a dead one the shears can below piakelev, the amount a dog will eat. Okay, because obviously you're not going to feed yourself, you're feeding it to the dogs. So this little bird which flits around in the vineyard, whether it's alive or dead, koshu, the seed is a koshu, shamatzino, so the fluid, because people put away in order to make medicines, remedies. Rabbi Acha said, one interpretation, shekain isha stifa, a woman who has the disease of stifa, which is some skin malady, so she put mosheches men, it's actually with a ches, not a chaf, she spreads it upon herself, misrapa, it's like an acne medicine. Okay, what's an acne medicine? Clearasil. It's like Clearasil. Okay. They said, different interpretation in Bavel. They said, man the boy he who wants to have a vasectomy, right? That's only a medical one. Achil palka. He eats, he wants to separate palka, he eats half of this bird from the vineyards. The shavik palka. You should leave the other half. Because if he ever wants to reverse the process, he's got to eat the other half. And it says, Shel Smo, the Melech Shloimeh says, Gir should be Oser. The left one ties him up. In other words, it eliminates his capacity to procreate. The Shel Yamin, the right half of the bird, Matir, releases the ability to procreate. Avad Koshu, Choser Koshu. If you lose part of the bird, or you're missing part of the bird, and you already took the half, which cuts your capacity, then you lose even the minute amount of the other half. Ein lo takano lamis. Oh well, too bad. Right. So, Ketzerel said, what does he do? In other words, how do you take this medicine? How do you take this medicine? Rabbi Yossi Rabun, Yoivla goat's lochis vash. You put it into a container of honey and you eat it that way. That's how it has an effect. Rabbi Nomer Ava Motzi Chagav Chai Tomei. Even a person takes out a live grasshopper, which is treif kosher. The shear is a minute amount. Ask the Gemara, Hator ben Chai ben Meis Kigrogeres. It sounds like it's a Chagav Chai Tomei. A treif, a live grasshopper, which the shear is a kosher. But what if it's what if it's a kosher grasshopper? So it sounds like no matter what, whether it's the size, whether it's alive or dead, the shear is always a grogeres and not a kosher. Hey, but what happened to the game? Don't you play the game with it when it's alive? And to play with it's alive, so the shear should be a kosher. So Rabbi Yehuda follows the line of reasoning. Rabbi says, you may not play with your food. Okay, so therefore, even if it's alive, since it's suitable to eat, you can't play with it. Ask Rav Aksi, you can say, it doesn't say, Tischak bo katzipor. It says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu plays with the Livyasan, the Leviathan, like a bird. So what do you see from that metaphor? Is he can play with birds? Yeah, you can play with your food, right? Play with your food. So you have a good point. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't eat it. I didn't even think of that. But what it means is he can play with your food. It says the Gemara, no. Lo tar min klal yisrahu. It doesn't mean that it's actually mut. It's just a metaphor. He plays with it like a bird, but not that it actually is mutter. Says Katzipor. He says it plays with it like a bird. Like a bird, true, it's a metaphor, but you didn't have to pick Katzipor. You could have said, Kamo Lego, right? Kamo Tinker Toy. Why does it say Katzipor? It must be that it's Dafka. By the way, the interpretation I just gave you, none of them unfortunately give, but I think it's better than any other one here, so therefore I'm sticking with it. So it says, Masya says, no, there's a very basic dichotomy, a very nice one. You have to give him an A for this one. An animal which is lacking shchita is like its tameh, and therefore allowed to play with it. You can play with the horse, you can play with the cow, you can play with sheep, play with any animal which must be shechted, even a bird. Because when it's alive, it's not yet considered to be a foodstuff. Why? Because it's tameh, right? Because it's not yet shechted. A grasshopper is uniquely not like that, because what does a grasshopper not require? Shchita. Also, fish would be the same thing, right? So therefore, when it's alive, says Rabbi Yehuda, it's as if it's already dead and it's already a foodstuff, since it's not like in shchita, and therefore not even allowed to play with it. And of course, wouldn't then be allowed to play with live kosher fish. Okay?
Getting back to a bird causing a medical vasectomy, man's not allowed to eat that bird, right?
No, man is not allowed to do anything which is going to cause him to be sterile surgically. But man, it's not clear that it's also. We never have a clear-cut answer in that. Okay? Says the Mishnah further. Hachla Perak Akiva, now Perak HaMatzia. HaMatzia L'Zera. Somebody puts aside something, a small amount of seeds, let's say, to plant. L'Dugma, it's used as a sample, as a showroom sample to sell his wares, or for medicine. And then he takes that small amount, the infinitesimally small amount, which he set aside for one of these reasons, b'Shabbos, and carries it on Shabbos. Chayav olav, he's chayav on it. B'choshu, no matter how little it was, because he already saved it up for a purpose and gave it a significance. Therefore, he's chayav for taking it out on Shabbos. B'chodam, however, that's only for himself, because he gave it special significance. And anybody else who has not given it special significance, Chodam ein chayav ilav el geshur, only chayav they take out the proper shiur, which is normally a grogeris. So also the person himself who safeguarded it, if after he took it out and did whatever he wanted to do with it, he takes it back in to the city or to his house, he's only chayav if he has the proper shiur, because at that point already the significance has rubbed off. He used it for whatever he was hoarding it for, and now it's just plain stuff, and therefore the shiur reverts to the normal size shiur, which generally by this stuff would be the shiur of a grogeris. Okay? Says the Gemara, says the Gemara. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. Boy, actually that's not the way to read it. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. Boy mas nisin de Rabbi Yehuda. No, it's not the reading either. I'm not sure I punctuate it. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar Rabbi Yossi Rechina Boy mas nisin de Rabbi Yehuda. He stated. Boy here must mean stated. He said our Mishnah must call it Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Umar b'mnus l'chayev. Rabbi Yehuda says if a craftsman takes something out the way his craft is executed, he's chayev. Now Lieberman brings out a beautiful shot here. He says that Professor Lieberman brings out a beautiful shot. He says that there's machlokes Ravina Rameir in the first parak, whether a craftsman who takes something out which he only because he's a craftsman is chayev. Okay, so for a craftsman, let's say I'm a pen merchant, so I sell the cap pen caps. For none of you is a pen cap kosher. For me, a pen cap is kosher, right? So I take it out. Am I chayiv for me to take it out? Meir says no. Rabbi Yehuda says yes. So the Gemara says our mission must be going like Rabbi Yehuda. Now says Lieberman. He said, in what aspect must it be going like Rabbi Yehuda? Not for dugma, not for refuah, because everybody, no matter whether they're pen cap salesmen or not, occasion will have occasion to save something for the purpose of medicinal purposes or for the purpose of planting. If it's a seed. In case of which there's a parting of ways which makes us say that our mission is like Rabbi Meir or like Rabbi Yehuda, now Rabbi Meir is the case of L'dugma. Who's going to take an object out to show it as a sample? Right? A craftsman, right? So we see our mission saying a craftsman is chayav for displaying the wares of his craft, even if they're not the regular shiur. What do we see here? We see here that our Mishnah holds that that you're chayav on stuff, even if it's not its regular shiur, even if you're only a craftsman. Even if only a craftsman would be machshiv, that I should say. Even if only a craftsman would lend the object significance. This is a major ramification, because we say here that according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's true. Rabbi Yehuda says you're chayav on taking out anything which has to do with your craft, no matter how small. According to Meir, it's not true, because Meir says because you're a meshuggah, that's not machayiv you skila or chachatas. You're an aberration. We don't go by aberrations. We go by normal people. So our Mishnah which says that l'dugma you're chayav, it's going to be going on aberration, because only I don't mean aberration, not normal, but somebody who's not not normal. Not normal, not part of the normal bell curve, I mean. Because he's a peddler, and that's what he's taking out his wares. So, like Rameh would say, Batlo Daito Tzukolada. We don't care what he wants. We look at the general humanity. But in Rabbi Yehuda, we look specifically at the craftsman, and that's Rabbi Yehuda. Our Mishnah must be going like Rabbi Yehuda. Okay? It took me far too long to say that, but that's what he says here. Okay, again, Masisin.
We're saying that a kosher even means less than the size of the actual item itself.
Right.
In other words, the item could be larger than a kosher, and we're saying according to Yehuda, you're still chayav, even if you're taking out a fraction of that actual item.
If it's craftsman's purpose, right? He's told you don't say about craftsman, batla daito itzuklada. Okay. Says Mar, Masis Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Umna again. Masis and Rabbi Yehuda to Rabbi Yehuda Amar Umna Nusal Chayav. A crafts is chayav. He takes out the tools of his trade or some manifestation thereof. As Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi b'shem Rabbi Yosef Chanina, and also said Rabbi Yehuda our Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef Chanina lo asil elo l'dugma. This is only talking about, however, l'dugma. We took something out for the purpose of display. Shekfar nisbayes halokeach, that in other words, this is going to the next part of the Mishnah. Mishnah says yichniso chazav yichniso ein chayav el kishuro. If you brought it back home, so when you bring it back home, then you only chayav in it like a normal shiur. You're saying this is going to the craftsman too, because the craftsman, we said, is chayav even on less than a shiur. What happens after the craftsman has made a sale? So then, does he need the dugma anymore? Not necessarily. He may, but probably not. So since he doesn't need the dugma anymore, at that point he reverts to the status of a regular person. What becomes a shiur? Now it's no longer a kosher, but rather what now is a shiur? The shiur of a grogeres. So again, once he's made the sale to take his wares home, the shiur reverts to a grogeres. When he's going to make a sale, he's desperate for any sample. When he takes it home, he's really not desperate for a sample, and therefore the shiur is a grogeres.
No, but he can always use the sample for the next sale, even if it's following day.
Right. That the truth is that so Lieberman brings down that that's in between this and a tax. A certificate presented to a tax collector, because there the next one you're going to save the tax certificate for the next collector, even if it doesn't do any good for that collector, but to show him that you're a trustworthy person. But here you can always take another sample. You're selling paint, so you don't need this sample. Take another sample when you get home, right? So therefore, taking on the sample is not going to be chayv. It's only taking the sample there. That's how Lieberman addresses it. Okay, says Rabbi Shimon That's game. If some Reuven saved it, and then Shimon took it out, Shimon's potter, because you can't be mechayiv Shimon on Reuven's hoarding it. Or Shimon Elazar Mikhail Chayev, or Shimon Elazar says, tough. Manakayamed, what are you talking about? Imashotziu midas. Hasheni, if it's over where the second person was aware and they took it out in his cognizance, so then Divrei HaKol potter. Everybody agrees it's potter because he didn't know that there was something significant in there. 1 second. Yeah. So if the second guy decided on his own, not knowing what was in there, well, I shouldn't say they didn't know what was in there. He didn't give the object significance, right? We're talking about you took a kosher out. So the second guy didn't give it significance. So therefore, everybody holds are exempt. If, however, the guy took it out because the first guy commanded him and told him how valuable or significant it is, so then chayev. And everybody agrees he's chayev. Why is he chayev in that case? Why is he chayev? Because relying on the first guy. And the first guy is the guy who saved stuff and found it significant. So if he's relying on that first guy, doesn't have his own independent opinion here, so obviously it's going to be chayev. Is that not clear?
The second guy is relying on the first guy. The second guy's not dependent.
He doesn't have an independent opinion. I made a mistake. If there's Reuven and Shimon, Reuven was machshiv something less than a shiur. Shimon was not. So if Shimon's doing al das atzma, which is called a midas hasheni, so he's potter because he didn't give us any chajivas. But if he says I'm taking out al das rishon, based on whatever then was given to him by the first guy, then of course he's chayiv, and that's what's called the very called chayiv. So that shouldn't be a machlokas. Elakanu kayim b'stam. Which is when the second guy got it out, took it out without any specific intent. Rabbanan say, he took it out on its own intent, and therefore he's potter, because he didn't have in mind to be machshvit. He stayed out on the intent of the first guy, and the first guy intended that it be significant, and therefore the second guy is chayiv as a result. Okay?
How do we know that? How does Shimon know that? Just that
it's machlokas and das b'nei adam, how people think. Yeah, there's no clear-cut way of knowing that. Okay? Let's do halacha base. I'm hot. Anybody else hot?
It's very stuffy.
Yeah, I'm going to turn on. Turn on. Yeah, but also I'm going to turn on the. Hamotzi ochlin, halacha base. Hamotzi ochlin v'nosan ala skupa. You took out food and you put it on the threshold. Bein shechazer v'otziam, bein she'otziam macher. Whether you took him out again or somebody else took him out, potter, you're exempt. Because the milk was not done in one shot, and this is talking about where that skupa was a carmelis or makam tur. So he didn't go straightly from Rishus Yod to Rishus Ram, he stopped at the carmelis or makam tur, and therefore you continue to be exempt, right? You have a container which is full of fruits, and as soon as it's open, it's placed on the threshold towards the outside. Even though most of the fruit is outside, potter, you're exempt until you take out the entire basket. Says Gemara, a very famous quote, also in the Bavli. We're talking about where the basket is a basket of pumpkins and gourds. So therefore, as long as some part of the basket is on the threshold, none of the pumpkins and gourds are stretching out exclusively in Rishus Harabim. That's very important because they're all good bifnim. They're all connected to the inside still. Okay? Part of his inside, part of his outside. But let's say the basket is full of regular fruit, apples. So then came grogeres. Once you take out the sheva grogeres, chayev, right? Because the grogeres of regular fruit is already completely outside of the rishus of the carmelis of the rishus yachid, so therefore you're chayev.
Even though part of the basket is still inside or on the.
Precisely because part of the basket is inside. If all the basket is outside.
No, the focus is not the basket, the focus is the contents of the basket.
Right, granted, but if all the basket is outside, then all the contents would be outside.
Right.
Right, so therefore, of course, in that case, you'd be chayav. We're talking about where part of the basket is inside, and therefore, part of the content is inside, but not just part of the content, but part of each and every fruit is still inside. But if each fruit is separate, or if it's like mustard seed, so then I don't say that. Okay? Is that clear? Okay, so it says Amri Milsidr Amri. They said Milsidr Rabbi Yochanan Pliga. The words of Rabbi Yochanan argue this. Amri Achia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Chia said name Rabbi Yochanan Sarut, which is a vessel, a large mixing bowl. Same idea we're talking about. Shem Miktsaso b'ivni Miktsaso Mikan. Part of Miktsaso b'chutz. Part of it inside, part of it is outside. Nothing Mikavanasa Mikan. If you took part of it and moved it to the other side, right? You're potter. Why you potter? You should be chayiv. So Rabbi Yochanan obviously holds what? Eget kli shmei eget. As long as I move it in the vessel, even though right now it's physically in a spot which is completely outside the house, since the whole vessel unites everything which is in it, so therefore as long as it's in the vessel, part of the vessel is in the house, I'm potter, I haven't done any otza. Okay? Says the Gemara.
Does it go bust or what part of the basket? Is this basket
whatever's going to be more advantageous to you.
So whichever way you want.
Yeah, sure. That's right.
Skupa was a caramelist.
Right.
So.
Or Malcolm Tour, it doesn't matter.
So you're potter from moving something from a caramelist to a shiur.
Right.
So even if you don't know that
but that's why if it stopped there. Let's say you had a kli which is molly apples, and you moved it from inside the house. You only stopped in a way that one apple is for sure outside Rishus Harabim. Other apples might still be in the Rishus of the comments, but there are apples outside Rishus Harabim. So they went in one fell swoop from Rishus to Rishus Harabim. I should be chayiv on them. The only reason I wouldn't be chayiv on them is what? Right, if I unite everything in the vessel. Okay? So it says more further. And if you uproot it, you have to uproot the entire basket at once in order to be chayiv. Ramona said name Rabbi Yossi. Now, very, a lot of machloksim here. What's is going back on? So, the Ritbaz, and what does it mean to connote? So the Ritbaz says that it's going back on.
Keeping the shema when you heard the whole time, we learned L'ishnaitzu how much years so you can exchange it if you want to. Have a Yosef, he said. Well, you can use it for anything you want to. If you want to use it for the aniyim or the boss, you put people who sit on it.
Yeah, he's saying it's going on the kli itself. He's coming to answer a question, why is the kli itself not a karmus, wherever it goes? Yeah. It's obviously a very large kli. It has to be more than 3 tefachim high. And more than 4 by 4 tefachim wide. But in that case, he's asking, why is it ever what? No, why isn't it always a karmus? How can every chayim be the raisa, and that's taking this kli out? The kli itself meets the parameters, the dimensions of karmus. So how you chayim for taking the kli out? It's like creating karmus wherever you go, and that's not a chi of the raisa. Might be this the rabbana, but not a the raisa, right? So that's again. Where am I? So then that's the Gemara asks. The Gemara really, it's a chaser. The Gemara meant to ask that. The Gemara gives an answer. Amray Mana Kum Rabbi Yossi Tipater Beparutz. We'll tell you about where the vessel only has 3 sides to it. On the 4th side it's open. That's why it doesn't become a mavli. It doesn't become a karmelis. Right? If we're closed on 4th side, it's going to be a karmelis. But if it's open on one side, it doesn't become a karmelis. That's a clear. No.
So this karmelis for the kli.
Right. No, I take that back. According to Rambam, it does become a caramelist with 3 sides. Rambam holds Rosh Hashanah the right says to have 4 sides. So either more here it's going to Rambam or it's a typo.
You said the ocean is a caramelist.
What?
An ocean is a caramelist.
Well, it has walls. Sure. Yeah.
What about a desert?
The desert is a caramelist.
Doesn't have walls.
Well, first of all, the Ram holds the desert. Ram holds desert Shus Harabim. Yeah. That's a good point. I don't know what all the other Mefarshim do. But you're right. Okay, the bottom line is, so he says that if it's open on one side, it no longer is a caramelist. What is it? No, I'm probably getting this wrong. Probably getting it wrong. No, I don't think I'm getting it wrong. I'm
So
sorry.
he made one push kid, and he made it tonight. Ravashi Amar Ana Asliyanami.
Yeah, I'm getting it wrong.
Ana Asliyanami looks like I don't need to make it tonight.
No, I'm not getting it wrong. I'm running it right. I'm just a little bit confused. He's saying there's 3 sides. It's not considered to be. It's considered to be a caramelist, but not a reshus unto itself. No, I'm still wrong. It's not a caramelist. It's a kli. Even as the regular dimensions of a caramelist, if it's open on one side, it's not a caramelist. Why is that? What?
It's not a clean.
That's fine. The bottom line, it's not a kli, right? So everything which is within it is not a caramelist, but what is it in? Each apple in it is an independent operator. That's really what we're saying. Okay, even each pumpkin is an independent operator. The kli is not mitzaref for everything. If the kli was a caramelist, it had 4 sides, so it would be mitzaref for everything, and you never could be mechayev on being motzi anything here, right? Because you're always carrying in a caramelist, right? But if the kli, even the kli is larger, but it doesn't have 3-4 sides, it's no longer considered to be a caramelist. Okay, meaning it's not a separate shus unto itself, and everything there is judged as being an object in which you're chayev for otzah. Yeah.
I can't conceive of your being able to pick up a caramelist and carry it.
Push it.
No, I mean in general. I
I'll
don't
tell
think
it.
a caramelist is a.
I don't know what you said. It's a crate.
It's a what?
A crate. It's an open crate. That's why it's a caramelist.
No, the concept of a caramelist
Yeah,
is
that's
something that's portable. Have we had that before?
No. Oh yes, we do. That's not true. The Vilna Shabbos says Sugi of Kaveris, an overturned beehive, which does become a rishus into itself as it's floating through the air.
It was just into it, but it was a caramelist?
I think it was a rishus hayachid there.
Okay, that's
I don't remember.
else.
Why is that any different?
I don't know. Just, I think if caramelist is a desert or is an ocean, something without borders.
Yeah, I don't think here we're doing any quantitative difference. Okay, so it says the Gemara. Where am I now? So says Amra again. Amra Imana Kumar Rabbi Yossi Potter Reports. Talk about open water flow. Amra Leisa said Valtina Kupa. You can't talk about open water flow because it's talking about a container, a basket. Isach Meimar Kupa Pruta, and when you can speak out a basket which contains water, you're going to call it an open reservoir. What kind of stuff is that? No. Make a mistake. I don't know where I got water from. Just a second. I lost my train of thought here. Again, I'm on a currency. The part, it's open. It says a container. A container is open and the container is closed. Forget about the water thing. What's the conclusion? The only thing which can become a caramelist in Rishus Harabim is a person. So therefore, even if the kupa is closed, it's not a caramelist, it's a kupa. And therefore you're chayav for taking the kupa through Rishus Harabim. Now what he wanted to say, you need an open box in order to get out of the problem of caramelist. Then the Gemara says quite clearly that no problem of caramelist only exists if it's not a keli. Meaning, it's a human being. But any keli is by definition not a caramelist, it's a keli. You're chayiv on it, and if you don't say eged klish me'eged, you're chayiv on the contents thereof. Okay? What's the matter?
Is this like a general principle? You cannot convert Rishus Rabin to something else if you have a certain height, a certain...
No. Look at the Korban Eda. Korban Eda says it doesn't become a karmelis, but can become Rishus Yachid or Rishus Rabin. It's a Korban Eda right near the bend, where it bends back. A large box will become Rishus Yachid, but it's not going to become a karmelis.
Bring out Rishus Rabin, not... Even if it has the adequate dimensions.
Right.
That's something like what I was...
to pay back.
That's what I was trying to convey.
That's what we're saying.
But it's not so exact.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. Why it shouldn't become a karmelis.
So now the kasha, H-Bay.
Oh, I remember. Aha!
Kasha,
Share and put to the rest of
The Beis Yosef notes, note 27 in the major new bestseller. The Beis Yosef notes that while we have already seen that a trench in Rishus Rabim that is less than 4 by 4 tefachim in area is considered a makom patur, when, however, that same type of trench is within a karmelis, it acquires the more stringent parameter.
Concerning the weights and measures,
Oh, this won't work.
they can do so. And if you're over on it,
This won't work. I thought it was this. This is that we say by a karmelis and a makom tur matzah minas mino. A makom tur loses its status in a karmelis. It becomes a karmelis because they're too similar. So I wanted to say that the keli in Rishus Rabin becomes a Rishus Rabin because of that, but that's not true. Drats. Doesn't work. I see. What?
that if you do it, you're not allowed to be low, wouldn't you then be penalized? You see, how did the Robert retracted what he said?
I don't know why it's like this. I don't know.
Amar Rapapa, Shaparov is no. He did good. Robert did good.
And somebody should only hardly teach us fast. Below diamond, but he's not so exact in this teaching.
Give me a second here.
What? I thought you were at the Mizrahi last night.
Shaparov is not honestly good what he did there. He didn't have to pay it back. Well, hardly Robert really made him pay it
All right, I thought there was something in here about it. I don't know. Okay, I can't find it, and I can't let this conversation continue. I don't know why Kaylee. I don't know why Kaylee Rishus Rabin doesn't become a car. But I don't know. It just seems to be axiomatic here that you can't make a Kaylee Rishus Rabin to a karmelis, and that's what's happening here. But that's explicit. What can I do? That's what Yerushalmi is saying. I don't know what the logic is. Again, my kadein ein l'cham metal Rishus Rabin nasa karmelis el adam bilvad. The only way to become a karmelis Rishus Rabin is human beings. We have to begin with Sechel Shabbos. If you stretch your hand into Rishus Rabin and you're in Rishus Yachid, you have to leave your hand there all of Shabbos. because your hand becomes like a karmelis, the Gemara says over there. But other than that, there's nothing which becomes a karmelis or shus harabim except for human being. No other object becomes a karmelis. I don't know why. Chizkiya borders. So what? That's how we normally think of it, but that's our limited perspective. Let's broaden our perspectives. Yeah, I don't know. The bottom line is I'm not clear about it. All right, says more further. If you're carrying a bundle from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabim, and while you're carrying out Rishus Rabim, if the head of the object goes above 10 fachim, since the entire object is not standing in Rishus Rabim, you're potter. That was a fascinating concept. Let's say this is more than 10 tefachim high, this cup. There's a miniature Rishus Rabim on the table here, right? And this was now, in order to get this out into Rishus Rabim, I have to lift it up like this. Put it like this. And this top is more than 10 amas high, 10 tefachim high, right? I can't be high for being motzi this in Rishus Rabim at all. Why am I high motzi Rishus Rabim? Because part of it always remains in a makom tour. Either Rishus Yachid or makom tour, part of it's always above 10 tefachim. In order to be chayiv on otzah, on something, I either have to put it into my own hand in Rishus Rabim, or put it on the ground in Rishus Rabim where it's not going to stretch into 10 tefachim above. More than 10 tefachim above the ground. The moment it stretches more than 10 tefachim above the ground, part of it is in a makom tour. Or part of it is Rishus Yachid. If it's more than 4x4 tefachim, I didn't do otzah. I didn't take something from Rishus Yachid and put in Rishus Rabim, because part of it remains Rishus Yachid. Part of it remains in a makom tour. I can't be chayav. Okay, let's see that and get side again. Took a bundle out from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabim until you put it down. Its head was above 10 fachim. Since it doesn't completely rest Rishus Rabim, it's potter. Similarly, if I am taking a beam out of my Rishus Yachid, let's say it's my Rishus Yachid, take it out of Rishus Yachid, try to put down Rishus Rabim. Before I do that, however, it enters, let's say there's another Rishus Yachid. It goes like this, before I can put it down like that. So then also I'm potter. Yeah, but part of it is Rishus Yachid. Look how it happened. Starting with Rishus Yachid, it extended up to the other one before I was able to put it down with Rishus Rabim. So therefore, never is chayiv. Okay, that's the toy about here. Before you're able to put down Rishus Rabim, it goes into another Rishus Yachid. Then even though I put it down, since it doesn't completely rest Rishus Rabim, it's potter. Rabbi Yochanan said, you have a stone which is a rabbi. Give her a stone which is 10 tvachim wide, Rechav Arbon 4 tvachim wide, Hamishtam Mishmitol which is a rabbi, which is at the rabbi Socha. Somebody takes something off that stone, puts it which is a rabbi, vice versa. Chayev. Why chayev? Rishus Yachid, right? Stone itself is Rishus Yachid. So we see objects can't become karmelis, and I don't know why. But objects can become Rishus Yachid. That we do see. Okay? An object, for instance, a car. If a car is a Rishus Rabim, the car is Rishus Yachid. Right? Because the car has walls which are 10 tefachim high. Assuming it does. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but assuming it has walls which are 10 tefachim high, then you can say that. Because the car is a bad example, because it's probably more than 3 tefachim off the ground. So I don't know, because you wouldn't say love, so it's not a good example.
Tires don't count.
Yeah, but they're not 10 by 4 by 4. Tires not 4 by 4. They're 4, so it can't become Rishus Yachid. Okay, in any event, but you get the idea. Says Gemara, Shmuel Amar Kupashim Le'Pechos. You have a basket full of fruit. When the Rishus Rabim, it's the middle of Rishus Rabim. Gavah Sar, the basket itself is 5 10 tefachim high, and Rechava Arba, it's 4 by 4. Hamishtamish L'Tochel Rishus Rabim, or Rishus Rabim Sochi. You take a bucket of fruit out of the basket, either Rishus Rabim or vice versa. Potter. Says more, Ma Poli. Does he argue? Huh? What are you talking about? How could it be potter? You're taking out Rishus Yachid, put Rishus Rabim. Says more amazing. It's sideways. So it's 10 by 4 by 4 when it's like this, but put it on its side, it's no longer 10 by 4 by 4. Now Lieberman brings it, but I'm potter. Halachically, the spill doesn't exist. Okay, now the thing is, Lieberman says an amazing thing. Thank you. Lieberman says an amazing thing. He says he brings down Yerushalmi. It's not him. It brings down Yerushalmi in error. It says since it's roy lahafcha your potter. It's even now when it's standing up, I take something out of here and put something in. I'm potter, because since I can turn it over, so then it's not considered Rishus Yachid.
Didn't we have that today, yesterday?
Yes, but that's for the Rabbanan, it's not for the Raisos. Here I can actually cancel the Raisos, like Mr. Khan said today this morning. I can actually cancel the Raisa by the fact that it's Roy Lahav Chal Tzida. It's an amazing concept. Okay? It doesn't say that here. It says Bishkam Shahavcha. But the Yerushalmi Erevin says, since it's in Erevin, since it's Roy Lahav Chal Tzida. Amazing. Kam Shalav Tzida, Kam Shalav Chal Tzida, depends if you turn it over or not. Yerushalmi Erevin says even if you didn't turn it over, Migo that you could have turned it over your Taka Potter. Okay, now look here. Rabun Barachia boy, Rabun Barachia asks like this. Akar em Rishus HaRabim. You picked up a stone Rishus HaRabim. Gavo Asar Chavar boy, it was 10 by 4 by 4. Mat Avidlei. And you moved it. Now, so this is my stone. If it were standing here, it would be Rishus HaYachid, right? I picked up the stone and moved it. Am I chayiv? What's the catch, obviously? I'm not moving an object. What am I moving? I'm moving Rishus HaYachid. Am I chayiv on that? That's his question, okay? So it says, is it like I'm taking from Rishus HaYachid, since I'm moving the Rishus HaYachid, is it like I'm moving from Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabim, and vice versa, Rishus HaRabim l'socha, or Rishus HaRabim Rishus HaRabim acheres, or like from one Rishus HaRabim to, no, actually that would be Potter. Oh, 1 second, hold on. Oh, Rishus HaRabim acheres, right, that would be Potter, that's right. Is it like when I'm moving the Rishus, I move it less than 4 amos. I'm moving the Rishus. Am I moving from Rishus HaYachid? Let's say I take this. Is it Moya Peros? No, it's a stone. I take the stone and I pick it up and I move it less than 4 tefachim. Less than 4 amos. So it's like I'm taking from Rishus HaYachid moving to Rishus HaRabim, because this is Rishus HaYachid, and I'm chayev, and vice versa. Or is I'm moving an object within Rishus HaRabim less than 4 amos, in which case I'm potter. Which one is it? So the obvious answer is, we don't know. Okay? Rabbana Ketzorn, I mean, boy Rabbi Yochanan has a different question. Nasan Chamisha. You have a stone which is half height, Rishus HaYachid. It's not Rishus HaYachid. It's 5 tefachim, right? Nasan Chamisha Gabi Chamisha. Now you put another stone on top of it, which is 5 tefachim, right? So you move the stone from Rishus HaRabim. Let's say this is my other stone, and I put it on top of here, and now it's 10 tefachim, all right? Mat Avilon, is it like I'm moving this from a karmelis
But you're creating a new rishus.
What?
You're creating a new rishus by adding the stone. So isn't that bone epic? You're creating a new entity.
Yeah, but not taking into account because it's not permanent. It's not permanent. It's the other way around. I made a mistake. This is surrounding here Rishus HaYachid. This is Rishus HaYachid. This is Rishus HaYachid. This is in Rishus HaYachid. This is a karmelis. So I put this stone on top of here, which is a karmelis. So am I transgressing? This is the Rabbanan of Otzah. It's not a Doraisa. Am I transgressing? This is the Rabbanan of Otzah or not? If I say that it's taken from Rishus HaYachid to a karmelis, so it's just the Rabbanan of Otzah, right? It's the reason why it's a karmelis because it's 5 tefachim off the ground. If I say, however, that by making Rishus HaYachid, by putting it on top, I make a Rishus HaYachid, so I'm taking from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaYachid, and therefore I'm exempt even from the Rabbanan of Otzah. Okay? So that's what it says here. Is I'm going for Rishus HaYachid to karmelis and vice versa, and therefore I am chayev, not chayev. Is this the Rabbanan, or do I say it's Mirshus hayachid l'rshus hayacher. Since when I put it on top, I'm making a reshus hayachid. So therefore, since I'm making reshus hayachid, so therefore I'm going from reshus hayachid to reshus hayachid, and that's okay. So we don't know. Again, we don't know. We don't know how to relate to objects which make other reshuyos, and how transporting them reshus harabim or a karmelis has a bearing on the halacha. All right, I don't know where the time went tonight, but we got a late start. Yeah. Okay. So